group.
This movie did not disappoint, and I've been avoiding it for 20 years.
Yeah, this is a crazy fucking movie.
I mean, it made sense to me that I read Spielberg showed the crews for both Schindler's List and Private Ryan this movie to get him in the mood.
Yeah, this movie makes Schindler's List look like a fucking
Disney
romp in the park.
Disney film. Yeah,
like a Gene Kelly musical, basically.
Yeah, yeah.
It was musical.
Obviously, the sequence, the main sequence in the middle of this film, is one of the most horrifying things I've ever seen in my fucking life on film.
Ever.
Yeah, I agree. It was hard to watch. It was like you wanted to look away, but it was just
cinematically. That's the moment where this movie goes from being kind of small to really fucking big. Just like that. And you start noticing like the things that have kind of been subliminally creeping in. Like, wow, man, there's a lot of Steadicam in this movie.
Yeah,
wow, the way that this guy sets his shots and frames and is really, really remarkably good. And like the level of crap. I wasn't, John. You missed. We were having like a conversation about like this movie made me think about Full Metal Jacket a lot because I actually think he did Kubrick better than Kubrick did.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, go back to the level of craft. That was the thing that really the movie flowed along, following that kid, and it was just going really well. And this, I had to stop over and over and say, how is he doing this? This is so.
It's photographed so beautifully.
Yeah, just you got great performance.
Got this rich. The photography is so rich, and it's got the 4:3 aspect. But Chris is right. It feels very claustrophobic for like the first quarter, or like and then of course when they get to the village, when the real shit's going to go down, it does feel more expansive and open up visually. But he never like.
And all these people all of a sudden.
No,
this film, like the actual film stock of this or whatever, just looks so gorgeous.
Well, there was a restoration.
I think this scene where they get to the woods actually is where it opens up. Like
it does open up there more.
And it opens up, and then not only does it open up, the stakes get raised.
Yeah.
Because this, like, I mean, literally, she's running away because she hears the bomb coming.
Yeah.
And that's
it's their first brush with like reality of what's happening.
Yeah. Well, that scene you're behind. No, that scene behind you is that. Go ahead.
He didn't see the pile. Up until that
right.
No. Going to the village.
No. They're not there. They're not there yet.
No, going earlier. This is a scene in the woods, and
this is the scene where
right.
This is before the bog. This is before all of that, and then the attack comes, and then the paratroopers come, and but like this is where it goes from we're digging up SVT 40s in the fucking trenches, the old trenches, to the war is here. Like
it's on your door.
Are here, and people are getting killed.
Yeah, absurdly.
This is right after they get left behind, right?
Yeah.
He gets left.
Because of the shoes thing. Yeah, but this scene you're talking about is like when I saw that it opened up and there's these. It's obviously Central European birch forest, right? These big, and so it opened up. There's these beautiful meadows and big trees. My mind was going into, oh my God, it looks like the Santa Cruz Mountains. I know this area growing up. Then they freaking blew up half the forest, and those looked extremely real.
There's a lot of
they were using real explosives.
Yeah, I know. It was like because that actually added the shock. It's like, oh my God, I'm obviously not in Santa Cruz anymore. But
this movie is full of real munitions.
Yeah, it is. This scene right here, those are real tracers, right?
They sure as fuck are.
The sheer scale of the entire film is so grand when you're done with it, like, because it feels very tight and sort of claustrophobic for a bit, but when you realize the orchestration, both on the camera and then on the actors, which most were actually non-actors, and then just the orchestration of the story and the people who are real actors. I mean, this is a monumental achievement, I think, in filmmaking, just in terms of like the technical execution. It's like, we saw Dunkirk recently, I mean, it's
1917, which this is also makes that look lesser.
Oh God. Yeah.
Now, their bit when the horrifying bit when the Nazis were going through with their sympathizers and just laying waste that village. I thought this feels exaggerated. I mean, these are ultra Nazis, right? I looked up Oscar Derlewanger, the guy. This was based on Derlewanger's brigade. Oh my God, this guy, that colonel with the Bush baby on his shoulder, is portrayed in the movie. That guy was such an incredible sadist. That even the SS high command were like, we got to do something about this guy. And then Himmler was like, no, kept putting him out there in the pale, put him out in Belarus, he'll just kill everybody. And he did.
Little details like that, having that little pet on his shoulder was so effective.
Mm-hmm.
And so like when he nudges it with his head,
I know,
and he's just, it made like, I swear to God, like I wanted to throw up. It was because it was just so affecting,
Yeah.
And later when he's captured, and he's like, "Oh no, I'm a nice guy. I'm really
whining and groveling."
That wasn't supposed to be Derlewanger. It was somebody else, a lower. But that Aryan guy who started talking about you don't deserve to exist, that kind of thing.
That guy was. But I mean,
and that's contrasted with the "we're not Germans."
Yeah.
Like the "we're not German." It's like that's worse, man. Like it's worse that you're not Germans.
Yeah, it is.
You joined up with this bullshit. Like
a lot more Ukrainians, I understand, reading the history of it.
Yeah, a lot of the guards in the death camps were Ukrainians too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
like that was. I thought it was like an exaggeration because but it isn't. It's
it's not.
I mean,
but put yourself. That was a fairly mild treatment of the whole thing.
In fact, he mentions an Einsatz Kommando 15, and I looked it up, and it existed.
We don't. I mean, obviously, like we don't know because we haven't been in that situation, and I'm just playing devil's advocate though. But what if it like came down to like a listen, you either join us or we fucking kill you, I mean, it's
a lot of them joined for other reasons.
There was also a lot of natural anti-Semitism back there. So
it wasn't so much
anti-communism.
Yeah, exactly.
There was a whole Russian Cossack army that fought the Germans.
Well, but a part of your brain might be like, you know what, I'll be a guard or they're going to blow my head off. I don't know.
There's that too. Yes.
Remember first comment.
But also if you had any integrity, you'd be like, no, blow my head off because this is fucking wrong.
Yeah. There wasn't a ton of that. Like the Germans didn't need to like force people to be in their army. Like people joined because
they're genuinely popular.
The World War I and the Depression after World War I destroyed so much of Eastern Europe. And these people were looking for someone to blame. And when Hitler said it was the Jews, everyone kind of went, yeah, it's the Jews. All right, sure.
That works.
Like we've hated them for a long time. So whatever. And so they joined up. Like the Austrians joined in huge numbers, and people from the Sudetenland, from what is now the Czechia and Slovakia, joined up in huge numbers. The
Austrians,
the Volga ethnic Deutsch,
everything somehow people from Yugoslavia were worse.
Yeah.
Like the Serbians who joined, they didn't even join. They just started their own version of the Nazi Party. And they were just like, we'll kill all of them. Well, fuck it, whatever.
Yeah,
you look Jewish. Blat. Like
the Balkans had issues before Hitler came along, so that's the thing.
I like to make a mental note when I see like a really good like kid performance in a film, like the boy in Room,
Oh yeah.
But like this has got to be, top 5 like young actor performances. I mean, this kid is incredible.
So
is he doing the makeup progression as he went along? It started as a young, fresh-faced kid, and he got
he
looked like an old man at the end of the film.
He does look like an old man,
and that's on purpose. Obviously.
Is he doing the voice the whole time? Because they ADR'd a bunch of it. Like
he
does when he does the other voice, is that him too?
I don't know.
Yeah, that's a question that I have.
But he did so much acting in his face.
Oh yeah. Also, as I said earlier, Wes Anderson needs to be sued for all those straighten the camera shots because there's lots and lots. They were very effective because something about those blue watery eyes just looking right at the camera. You saw something. It left everything in the foil.
Out of a lineup.
What?
I could totally pick him out of a lineup.
Oh, now you can't probably, yes. Yeah.
Well, because his face was always on screen,
yeah.
and we never found out, you know.
Well, and like
that, John.
I mean,
Chris mentioned
we're week 7 of face acting. That's just where we are.
Yes, Chris mentioned.
I don't think they can. Can you guys hear us? Because it seems like
before you guys were like having your own conversation.
Yeah.
Now we can't.
No, because
earlier I was trying to say something and I felt like I wasn't.
Now we can hear you. Go ahead.
No, that's yelling about the movie.
John, you acted very quiet, so go ahead.
I have been very quiet.
Because he tried to talk and he's like, they can't hear me.
When we were talking about this shot that's in the woods earlier, and I'm just going to bring up how effective it is to use practical effects versus any kind of simulation of warfare that we've seen in American movies lately. It's just there's no substitute for actually setting off bombs in the forest and having trees come down.
I mean, they blow up those trees.
Holy Christ! Yeah, that was harrowing.
Also, I want to put some space in here. This spoiler alert. Okay, wait. We'll put that on the graphic. But the very end, that backwards montage, that was exhilarating. I mean, I was like, my adrenaline went to 1,000 at that point because it was so.
I never wanted to watch Inglourious Bastards so bad in my life was when I finished this movie.
Well, here's the thing. I was torn about that part because part of me was just like you, Scott, where I was like, oh my God, this is so, exhilarating and so heart pounding. And also it's, what it's doing is going in reverse, right? So it's sort of putting the idea in your head, like, don't you wish you could reverse history, but you can't. This is already done. But another part of me was like, another small part of me was like, this doesn't belong in this movie, and I want this movie to just be the movie that it was. And why suddenly is it a documentary? And I don't like this. But ultimately, I did feel the exhilaration that you're saying, Scott, and I love playing with the idea of you can't undo history.
No, well, and I also think they probably needed that for the censors in Russia too. Like,
do you felt that
they needed to have it mean a little bit more. Like, it's not just this story. Like, we have to talk about how this relates to fascism overall and stuff like that as well. Like,
wait, go ahead, John. You were going to say.
John. I'm going to say I agree with that part of you that was taken out of the movie because it was about 3 times too long by my estimation. The footage,
the backwards Hitler thing,
the reverse Hitler, yes,
reverse Hitler, yes.
And it took me out of the movie. I'll tell you that the most visceral reaction I had was that maybe 6 seconds of documentary footage of the camps and the bodies and the starving people.
I know for me, it was based on the knowledge of the history at the time, because you saw it all. It started out World War II, then the 30s and late and mid and early 30s, and you saw the stormtroopers, and you saw it all going backwards. I kept waiting for that. It's like they're showing the entire history of Nazism going back to him as a baby.
Didn't we even see some World War I footage in
there? Yes,
exactly.
Exactly right.
Well, you see him with his weird mustache.
It's almost science fiction-y because the whole thing about would you go back in time, would you kill Hitler?
Yeah, right.
It's almost that same proposition.
It was.
Yes.
In fact, I thought of that when I was watching it. Yeah. The answer is emphatically yes.
Yes, most people say yes.
I liked it because it was like a representation was probably going through that kid's brain at that point, where he's like just pumping holes in it.
Yeah, he saw it on a big screen too.
And it's interesting. It's the only time he fires his gun.
Yes.
Chekhov. Let's talk about Chekhov's gun for a second. Right? Oh my God.
That picked it out of the hole in the ground.
Only good thing that gun shot at was Hitler.
Yeah.
I got some
SVT-40.
Yeah,
just like Kubrick vibes. I got a bit of Tarkovsky vibes in this too.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Definitely.
I thought, like, had the movie chosen to end on the montage, that reverse montage, like I thought that's what was going to happen, but instead, what they actually ended with, for me, like, took the movie, which I was already like a 10 plus, like, to a 20, because I thought that was such a great way to end it, with him finally getting what he wanted in the first place, which effectively turns the whole thing into kind of some kind of fucked up hero's journey, right?
Right.
But you sort of also know that, like, I read Ebert's review, and I liked this line. He said, by the end of this movie, you sort of feel like the living envy the dead.
Oh, without
of course they do.
Oh, dude, that's came across.
And the end of that movie. Let's talk about really quickly about that fucking shot, that one single shot that goes as they're all marching, and he finally gets up to them. But then it goes through the woods and drifts for a while.
Oh yeah.
And then it comes back out and meets them. and stops and lets them walk and then goes up into the trees. I mean, I just thought it was masterful.
Yes,
It was.
Here,
I want to comment on something that Tad said. I watched part of the Criterion extras, and there was an interview with Elam Klimov, and he said that how it got its name was the censors when they submitted the final script wouldn't let them. They wanted to call it "Kill Hitler."
Kill Hitler, yeah.
But they wouldn't let them mention Hitler at all in the entire flick. So that was the way they got around it. They had the picture of Hitler and Russia's liberator.
Why not? What's the logic?
Well, they actually built a skull claymation version of Hitler in the film.
Yeah,
that part where they're talking about what they would do if they got Hitler, and the one guy says we'd leave it to the women; they would know what to do.
Absolutely.
Because about all of they had rape squads and stuff like that was going on.
You remember her legs when she walked back?
That wasn't the same chick in the first half of the movie, was it? That wasn't the same girl.
No, it wasn't the same girl, but it was a different.
Kind of looked like her.
It kind of looked like her.
The point is, it's supposed to look like her. It's supposed to remind him of
I just wanted to double check on that one.
Yeah.
There's a lot of imagery in this film I will never forget, but one small moment that is burned into my brain and I can't get it out is when they're all in the barn and it's after he comes out. And they drag that girl out, and there's a little boy, and the guy just kind of tosses him back in like he's.
And it looks like he tosses him in that window.
Yeah, almost like he's just like a fucking baseball or a beanbag or something, just like a little, just whoop, and you see the little boy go back into the. And I swear to God, I'll just never forget that.
Yeah.
Nice, Chris. That's nice, Chris. Thank you.
The guy screaming, the guy screaming, "I'm with you, I'm with you."
Yeah.
When he's trying to get out from the door,
right?
And because
that real asshole little shit guy.
The helmet with all
the graffiti on it. Yeah.
Yeah, he was like a real slimy piece of shit.
It was like,
and then they just let him go. Like they do the whole thing where they take the pictures and blah blah blah, and then he goes, "I'm gonna kill you," and he runs away, and they just let him go.
Yeah.
Okay, they let a few people go. They let the boy go, who's the the main character. Right. Is that because they wanted people to be able to tell the story of what they'd seen? You think that's the reasoning behind that?
Jim knows.
I think they just felt like we fucked him over enough, and they let him go.
But I love how they take that they take that menacing picture with him though before they let him go.
Yeah. That's what I mean. After they've done that
was the most casual sadism I've ever seen. It was just like, okay, this is.
But that's it's all casual sadism. It's just like, we can kill these people or not, like whatever. Who cares?
Right. No, it was the looseness of the brigade when they came in to the town. It was almost like it's like a biker gang almost. So apparently the guy, what's his name, Derlewanger. Yeah, he recruited a lot of tough, poachers and toughs and assholes basically to be in his brigade.
A lot of his storming of the Capitol is what it looked like.
Yeah.
No, the first comment I made in this film a couple of days ago was that we need to show this to every high school kid in every red state in this country. Yeah, right. This is what happens when you follow a leader like this.
It was super disorganized and kind of like a party. They were driving around in circles. And,
It felt like
the bus, and they were just shooting the machine gun out of the back of the bus, whatever.
It felt like the January 6th.
Yeah. Very apropos, very timely.
This is a front runner for probably the best thing I'm going to see all year.
Same here, dude. You did it again, Jim. Damn you!
Why? I resisted watching this, even though I knew reading the reviews it was going to be amazing. Because it's like, God, I don't know, I can put myself through that.
But, when are you in the mood for that? Right?
Yeah,
I do adore this, where they're like, we're not going to wait for you to get matches to fucking burn these people. We're just going to shoot them. Fuck them.
Yeah. It was almost like that's that Inglourious Bastards moment that Chris has, because you're like, you know what, just gunning these people down, that's not vengeance enough. You gotta
but we're not gonna wait for you to go find matches. We're not gonna wait for the guy to come with the torch. Like, you're just dead. We're done.
We're gonna kill you, but we're gonna be more merciful and kill you immediately. Not
the cow. The cow dying with the eyeball. Has
go ahead, Chris.
No, I'm not putting it back up.
Okay.
Well, it reminded me of that Salvador Dali picture. The one.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Which was actually a cow's eye in the movie.
In the movie, it's a real cow's eye that they used. And then, of course, it also like brings to mind sort of, and like the cow has no idea why it's just been killed and it's just laying there dying. It's like the absurdity of war to an animal that doesn't understand. 1 minute is grazing in the pasture and the next minute is struggling.
Well, the other thing that's weird is I read something somewhere else. They talk about the fact that the cow belonged to a collaborator.
Yeah.
And that's why they steal it, right? They take it off with them. And it's like, what told you that? And it must be like he says something or
some subtlety in the language, perhaps.
On the subtitles.
Well, he's still there. He hasn't been run out.
And he's still there and the farm's intact. Yeah.
Also, I didn't realize until like about 15 minutes after I saw it is that the old man that in the beginning was yelling at the kids to keep out of the trenches and stop digging up stuff was the burned up guy. And
he's the guy who's burned. Yeah,
I know. It's like I didn't make that connection until afterwards. It's like, oh man. And that was some good good makeup too. That was like disgusting looking. Yeah, it was
it's like blue and white on his chest.
Oh my god, it was so good. You could feel the flakiness of it.
I know, really. It jumped to the screen. Well,
it looked like part of his lips were gone. It was pretty fucking horrible.
Amazing.
I didn't realize that, but that's why he says don't dig, don't dig.
Don't dig. Yeah.
Who pays for
told
it?
you not to dig.
Yeah. But
Chris, you had brought up the Tarantino. What is it?
Glorious Bastards.
Revisionist history ending.
Oh my! That's a cartoon compared to what we just saw.
Yeah, but it's a weird double bill because in the both in the end you get to shoot Hitler.
Yeah.
Right, and that's just two very, very different takes on the same idea.
Yes.
This is what I call a heavy movie with a capital H. This one coming soon.
No, I wasn't like a sledgehammer.
No, well done, man. Well done.
Really good flipping movie though.
It's like 1,000 sledgehammers falling out of a rain cloud.
Or a spotter plane. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, well, so apparently, if you really want to go down, I was only half joking about that. Somebody picked Painted Bird because I've seen so many articles where they compare this to Painted Bird.
Yeah.
In terms of the level of grimness.
I've read the book and the book.
And apparently, so is Sandy. Sandy's like, I'm not watching that movie. But the kid from this has a role in Painted Bird, apparently.
Is that the new one, the black and white one?
What's that?
Is that the new one, the black and white one?
The new Painted Bird that came out last year.
Yeah, I've heard that's fucking heavy as fuck.
That's the Captain Conversation, Jim. What brought this on?
What brought what on?
This film.
Come and see.
Oh, I think it was Night Riders.
Which was a crime against humanity. I understand.
I know. I couldn't stop thinking about Pennsylvania bikers this entire movie either. It's like weird.
Well, especially when they had that motorcycle with the side going backwards. How do you get a motorcycle to reverse?
You've lost your mind, Jim. You've lost your mind. And provided a nice clip. I'm writing this down right now.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Night Riders.
God damn it.
No.
Well, and it made me think of Scott's post the other day, which maybe this is off topic a little bit, but about how that fucking piece of human garbage was wearing a Camp Auschwitz hoodie that stormed the Capitol that said staff on it. I mean, just this is unacceptable, disgusting. I mean, I don't understand how humans can do that.
No, not, and that's the movie doesn't know, the movie doesn't know either. The movie was trying to wrestle with these issues. The existential stuff this film talked about was beyond. I mean, he was all the guy could do was witness it. He didn't know why this was happening. It was just happening.
We got to see
it. It's so powerful, I think.
It is so powerful. We got to see it. We got to see it through the kids' eyes.
And no one's rationalizing it. No one's explaining it. No one is. They're just dealing with it. You know what I
mean?
Well,
that is that's also one of the good things about Schindler's List too. Is Schindler's List doesn't know why they're doing it either. Like Schindler is like, this is fucked up. Like,
it's a whole question.
What are you doing?
Before we move on, I haven't heard any negative criticism of the thing, and I don't know if nobody has any. I'm going to bring some stuff up and see if anybody has any comments about it, because
I did bring up that I thought that one thing was a little out of place. There was a part of me that thought the flash that's a little out of place, but at the same time it was so powerful. I was on the fence. I didn't know.
I'm gonna say that I feel like the first third of the movie could have been different, and it might have made me care more, because there was no attempt to really fill us in on who this boy was or what he was doing there, or I don't know. It's like he's a witness.
I disagree with you, because I feel like the entire scene where the partisans show up to take him, he demonstrates who he is. Like,
right.
The only thing he cares about is a 14 or 15-year-old's understanding of our country's being invaded by these people. I'm going to fight against them, and I don't care what the consequences are.
All my friends.
But here's the thing. I kind of agree with John, because if you start out the first like 5-10 minutes of this film, you don't think that the tall kid who found the gun is necessarily going to be the star. The little kid has much more personality.
He's like a secondary character.
The little kid is like, for the first 5 minutes, the little teeny kid who's going, yeah, is like the star.
The one who's mocking the old man.
Right.
He has the biggest personality, right?
He's bossing the big kid around.
Yeah. What else you got? What else you got, John?
Well, okay, it's just continuing on that thread. It's just, he's a witness, and the movie's called Come and See, which couldn't be more appropriate, because he isn't really the protagonist in this movie. He's more the person. He's the camera walking around.
He's a passive witness.
Yeah, he's a witness.
Kino Glass.
And even when he tries to be a protagonist, he's not.
He fails.
Yeah.
Right. So my question is, does that mean that that's a flaw in the film? Is this movie like the primal scream therapy for the Russian audience and the Russian filmmaker who experienced this shit and needs to recreate it basically on film so that they can have that emotional catharsis? And are we on the other side of the wall? Because I felt like I was on the other side of the wall a lot, kind of watching it. It's like, oh, now they're going to set the barn on fire and everyone's going to die, because I've heard these stories. And like I said, the footage from the actual documentary footage from the concentration camps was the one thing that I wept when I saw it.
No, see, I think it's okay to pose those questions.
Okay.
But I disagree, because I agree with you about sort of the beginning, but I think that, by the time you're really rolling with this film, we are the little boy, so to speak. We're witnessing the film with him, or
The reason I bring up the first act, if we want to call it the beginning of the movie,
it definitely has acts.
With him and the girl ends up not being a consequential character after he drags her through the bog for no apparent reason.
Yeah.
They turn around and look at the pile of bodies, and that wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
But we
God,
follow in the mud, and then she's gone. She's like, he threw me in the mud.
That's part of it. I think it's trying to establish his character. He really is. It's like a Bildungsroman. He
I love that
he gets
term.
educated throughout the thing, where he's oblivious. Yeah, in the beginning, he's like Tad said, it's like, oh, the Nazis have invaded, the Germans have invaded.
Yeah, he wants to be. I'm going to be a big soldier.
No, I'm going to be a soldier. And his mother is like the voice of reason. It's like, you don't want to be a soldier. You're going to get fucking killed,
Yeah.
But yet he goes off and does that.
No, Jim's
right.
That's
the first time.
No, Jim's right. It's a Bildungsroman. It is. It's a story about learning and learning everything. In the end, he learned everything. And the other thing is that he brought Ziga Vertov. You talked about, this is also an expression of Russian filmmaking aesthetic. And having a wide-eyed witness see these things happens in movies over and over again in Russian cinema. And so this is part of that. So it seems a little alien to us, because we're used to more active protagonists.
Right.
But it's just a different style.
It's okay to have a movie where things happen to people.
Yeah. Think about Generation P.
Yeah.
It's like
first before they go into that bog, when they run past his village and the house, and you do see that pile of bodies, that's the first oh shit moment in this movie.
Oh yeah.
That's the first, that was the first pang in my heart of sorrow.
Yeah.
And also fear of what, and I love how this filmmaker does so many things right. They just keep running past it. And it's almost like he's trying to look at it, and she's, come on, like, we gotta go. And you're just like, it's so foreboding.
Well, she plays this a little bit older to me. Like she might.
Yeah, she is.
Right. She's supposed to
10
be
years
17,
probably like 17 or something.
And she sees well, but she sees that and clocks how that's going to affect him,
right?
And is like, no, if he turns around and sees that, that's it. He's done.
He's not useful
like he's going to
anymore.
die in this field if he turns around and sees that. So I can't let him see that. Like we have to keep going. And then when he's like, we have to keep going, we have to keep going, go into the bog, go to the island. She loses that as they're going through the bog, because it's like there's consequences to this choice that I made too.
Yeah.
And like she is a character who has consequences to things that she chose, which is one of the only characters in the movie who does. Like, is that a good or a bad thing? I don't know. But they do set up something where she makes a decision and her decision has negative consequences down the line.